The rain lashed against the diner's windows, blurring the neon sign that sputtered eats in fading glory. Elias Thorne hunched deeper into the cracked vinyl booth, the lukewarm coffee doing little to thaw the chill that had settled deep within his bones. It wasn't the Ohio River wind seeping through the poorly sealed window, it was something far colder, far older. A residue clinging to him like a shroud, a whisper in the silence of his own mind. He hadn't slept properly since leaving Blackwood Estate. The memories, or rather, the impressions twisted and bled into one another, the oppressive grandeur of the mansion, the suffocating weight of its history, the unsettling portraits whose eyes seemed to follow him across the shadowed halls. And the music god, the music, a fragmented melody that resonated not in his ears but within the very fabric of his being, a siren's call for something he desperately feared. "Trouble sleeping, Mr. Thorne?" Elias startled, glancing up to see Mr. Silas observing him with those unsettlingly placid eyes. Silas always seemed to materialize when Elias felt most vulnerable, a silent sentinel in a world rapidly descending into madness. "Just a bit restless," Elias mumbled, pushing the coffee cup away. "The rain isn't helping." Silas offered a thin smile. "The weather can be a reflection of the soul, wouldn't you agree?" He gestured to a newspaper lying on the table. "Have you seen the reports regarding the Blackwood investigation?" Elias hadn't. He's avoided the papers like a plague, terrified of what they might reveal. He hesitantly picked up the paper, the grainy photograph of Blackwood Estate staring back at him. A single sentence caught his eye: asterisk, no signs of forced entry. Estate remains under strict quarantine. Asterisk, they're still investigating. Elias asked, a tremor in his voice. "Naturally," Silas said smoothly. "Such a tragedy deserves a thorough inquiry. Though I suspect the local authorities are struggling to comprehend the complexities of the situation." "What complexities?" Elias pressed. Silas paused, his gaze drifting to the rain-streaked window. The estate possesses a history unlike any other in this county. Rumors of unusual experiments, a fascination with ancient law. Alistair Blackwood was a man of uncommon vision. Alistair Blackwood, the name hung in the air like a poisoned dart. Elias remembered the portraits, the feeling of being watched, the pervasive sense that Blackwood's presence lingered even in death. He also remembered a conversation with a man who identified himself as the caretaker, a gaunt figure with an unsettling calmness who spoke of restoring the harmony. He mentioned something about the harmony, Elias recalled, a shiver tracing his spine. Silas's smile widened, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. Alistair believed that certain frequencies, certain vibrations, could unlock hidden potential within the human spirit. He sought to harmonize the individual with the greater whole. "And what whole is that?" Elias asked, his hand instinctively reaching for the worn leather satchel at his side. Silas shrugged, his face an impenetrable mask. "A philosophical concept best left unexplored, Mr. Thorne." Suffice it to say, Alistair believed that certain elements were out of balance. A sudden clang from outside drew their attention. A newsboy, soaked to the bone, was hurriedly distributing papers. He stopped at their booth, thrusting a paper into Elias's face. "Extra! Extra! Blackwood Estate, spectral phenomena reported. Witnesses claim apparitions and unsettling noises." Elias scanned the headline, a sense of foreboding washing over him. Spectral phenomena. Apparitions. He felt a strange connection to the words, as if they were meant for him. "They're sensationalizing it," Silas murmured, waving the newsboy away with a dismissive gesture. Elias ignored him, his gaze fixed on a photograph accompanying the article. It showed a section of a Blackwood Estate's circular chamber, the room where he's had his most disturbing experiences. In the background, partially obscured by shadows, was an artifact he didn't remember seeing before, a grotesque, vaguely humanoid figure crafted from tarnished silver, its eyes gleaming with an unnatural light. "What's that?" Elias asked, pointing to the figure. Silas followed his gaze, his expression hardening. "A relic of Alistair's research. Nothing to concern yourself with, Mr. Thorne." As they left the diner, the rain seemed to intensify, the wind howling through the narrow streets of the town. Silas led Elias towards a Packard, its dark green paint gleaming ominously in the dim light. "We have a destination, Mr. Thorne," Silas said, his voice low and insistent. "There are matters that require our attention, matters concerning the harmony." Elias hesitated, a deep sense of unease gripping him. He knew that getting back into the Blackwood Estate was a mistake, that it would only invite further madness and despair. But he also knew that he had no choice. Silas controlled him, manipulated him, used him for his own inscrutable purposes. He was a pawn in a game he didn't understand, a puppet dancing to a tune he couldn't resist. As the Packard pulled away from the curb, Elias glanced back at the diner, its neon sign flickering one last time before plunging the street into darkness. He had a feeling that he was stepping into something far more dangerous than he could possibly imagine, a journey into the heart of a cosmic horror that would test the very limits of his sanity. The Packard sped along the winding road, the rain blurring the landscape into a swirling vortex of grey and green. Elias stared out the window, his mind a maelstrom of fragmented memories and unsettling visions. He could feel something changing within him, a subtle shift in his perception, a growing connection to something ancient and powerful. "Are you feeling all right, Mr. Thorne?" Silas asked, his voice laced with a concern that seemed almost genuine. I don't know," Elias mumbled. "I feel different." Silas glanced at him in the rearview mirror, his expression unreadable. The Blackwood Estate can have a profound effect on the psyche. It's a place of immense energy. Suddenly, Elias felt a jolt, a sharp pang of pain radiating from his temples. He instinctively reached up to touch his face and recoiled in shock. His reflection, distorted by the rain-streaked window, seemed different. His eyes, normally a dull grey, glowed with an unnatural luminescence. A faint, ethereal shimmer enveloped his face, subtly altering his features. What's happening to me?" Elias whispered, his voice trembling with fear. Silas didn't respond. He merely gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles white. "We've arrived," he said, his voice strained. The Packard pulled up to the imposing gates of Blackwood Estate, the mansion looming above them like a skeletal leviathan. The rain had stopped, but the thick mist clung to the grounds, adding to the oppressive atmosphere. As Silas opened the gate, Elias felt a surge of power coursing through his veins, a feeling of unsettling familiarity. "There's someone waiting for us," Silas said, his voice barely audible above the rustling of the wind. They entered the mansion, the heavy oak doors creaking open with a mournful groan. The interior was even more dilapidated than Elias remembered, the air thick with the scent of dust and decay. A single figure stood waiting in the grand foyer, the caretaker, his face impassive, his eyes filled with an unsettling calm. "Welcome back, Mr. Thorne," the caretaker said, his voice resonating with an unnatural authority. "I trust you've been contemplating the harmony." "What do you want from me?" Elias asked, his voice shaking with a mixture of fear and defiance. The caretaker smiled, a slow, deliberate curve of his lips. "I want you to fulfill your destiny, Mr. Thorne, to unlock the potential that lies dormant within you, to become the key to restoring the harmony." As the caretaker spoke, a chorus of ethereal voices echoed through the mansion, growing louder with each passing moment. Elias felt a searing pain in his head, a sense of being torn apart from the inside. He stumbled backward, his hands clasped to his temples. "The inevitable has been delayed, but it is not averted," the caretaker said, his voice echoing with an unsettling triumph. "The harmony will be restored, one way or another.